was hanging around the racetrack, watching the figure eights. Bunch of beat-up old stock cars whizzing through the gates. When this joker, he walks over and give me the big eye. Says, you a racing driver or just passing by? I told him I was a drifter, just traveling through. I drove a few jalopies, not many, that is true. So he says that he's a sponsor, but his driver got laid up. Wondered if I'd like to help him take a shot at the Golden Cup. Figure eight, don't go near them figure eights. Tell you, buddy, if you do, it'll be the death of you. So I told him I was willing, but I'd never tried before. He says, nothing to it, just keep the foot feet on the floor. So he took me down to the pit, to a beat-up pile of tin. Says, that's your baby, let's see you bring her in. They gave me a dozen laps, just to sort of get the feel. Test the brakes and the seat belts and the 2-bit steering wheel. Then the starter yelled, line up for the feature of the day. The famous figure eight was almost underway. Figure eights, don't go near them figure eights. Tell you, buddy, if you do, it'll be the death of you. Now the noise of all them engines nearly caved my eardrums in. Next thing I know, we're rolling. Let the figure eight begin. We revved them up to 50, circled the track a time or two. The flag went down, the roar went up. Man, I'm telling you, never seen nothing like it. Cars whizzing in and out, coming at you in all directions. Ain't no way to cut out. Sideswiped me a Chevy, bounced off a yeller Ford, locked axles with a Plymouth as the motors roared and roared. 3 laps, I'm in 4th position with a Buick creeping up. Now if I can get her up to 80, I'm a cinch to take the cup. 8 laps, the motor's smoking, tires unraveling too. Engine started missing. Lordy, what's to do? 3 cars up there in front, they collide and jump the track. Looks like that leaves old John here as the leader of the pack. Gave her all she had, and I'm a gunning for the X. Everybody comes together, one passes and I go next. But when I reached the middle, took a broadside from a Merc. 10 flew in all directions, and I eat 2 tons of dirt. That's about all I remember. That was my crowning day. And honest, St. Peter, it happened exactly that way. Figure eights, don't go near them figure eights. Tell you, buddy, if you do, it'll be the death of you. Well, I built a little dragster, one I thought that would run. So I took it to the drag strip just to have a little fun. There I paid my $2 just to go down the track. But I got shut out by a little fastback. Hey, little fastback, what makes you run so fast? All that I ever see, your little back blast. Well, I'm gonna get a fastback, one that will run too. Then the people will cheer me just like they do you. Well, I pulled out on the blacktop for my second run. The flagman, he dropped the flag and the race begun. Over all the vibrations, I heard the crowd cheer. I knew that he had crossed the line before I hit second gear. Hey, little fastback, what makes you run so fast? All that I ever see, your little back blast. Well, I'm gonna get a fastback, one that'll run too. Then the people will cheer me just like they do you. The story of the hot rod race where the Ford and the Mercury was setting the pace. That story is true, I'm here to say, 'cause I was a driving that Model A. Got a Lincoln motor and it's really souped up, and that Model A body makes it look like a pup. Got 8 cylinders and use them all, and an overdrive that just won't stall. Got a 4-barrel carb and a dual exhaust, 411 gears that can really get lost. Got safety tubes and I'm not scared, the brakes are good and the tires are fair. We left San Pedro late one night, the moon and the stars was shining bright. Everything went fine up the Grapevine Hill, we was passing cars like they was standing still. All of a sudden, like the flick of an eye, a Cadillac sedan passed us by. The remark was made, that's the car for me, but within the taillight was all you could see. Well, the fellas ribbed me for being behind, so I thought I'd make that old Lincoln unwind. Took my foot off the gas and, man alive, I shoved it down into overdrive. Wound it up to 110, twisted the speedometer cable off the end. I had my foot feet clear of the floor, says that's all there is, ain't no more. Went around the corner and I passed a truck, crossed my fingers just for luck. The fenders clicking the guardrail post and the guys beside me as white as a ghost. Well, I guess they thought I'd lost my sense. The telephone poles looked like a picket fence. Said, slow down, I see spots. The lines in the road, they look like dots. Smoke was rolling out of the back when I started to gain on that Cadillac. I knew I could catch him and I thought I could pass, but when I did, I'd be out of gas. The tires on the side, you could feel the tension. Man, what a ride. I said, hold on, I got a license to fly, and the Cadillac pulled over and let me by. All of a sudden, the rod started knocking down the dip. It started to rock, and I looked in the mirror, a red light was blinking. The cops was after my hot rod Lincoln. Well, they arrested me and they put me in jail. Called my pop to go on my bail. They said, son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't quit driving that hot rod Lincoln. On the 23rd day of last November, the clouds were a-hanging low, when around the curve come old 97 like an arrow shot from a bow. They gave him his orders at Monroe, Virginia, saying, Steve, you're way behind time. This is not 38, it's old 97, you must put her into center on time. He turned and he said to his old breezy fireman, shovel just a little more coal. When we reach the top of White Oak Mountain, you can watch old 97 roll. It's a mighty rough road from Lynchburg to Danville, the line with a 3-mile grade. It was on this grade that his air brakes refused him. You can see what a jump he made. He was coming down the grade making 90 miles an hour when his whistle broke into a scream. He was found in the wreck with his hand on the throttle. He was scalded to death by the steam. Now ladies, you all must heed my warning from this day and ever on. Never speak harsh words to your kind, loving husband. He may leave you and never return. Well, I built myself a little modified hot rod car. Liked it a lot, but I never got to drive it far. It's a little too fast and it makes just a little bit of noise. But when I crank her up, it sure impresses the boys. But all the gang kept a kidding and a nagging me, making jokes about its running ability. So I said to myself, I'll show 'em just you wait. And I entered it in the race called the figure eight. Round and around on the figure eight. Am I sane, am I sound, it's a matter to debate. Talk about a surefire way to lose some weight. Try going around and around on the figure eight. There's a curve and a curve and a curve and another curve. I ain't scared of nothing, but man, I lost my nerve. And some crazy fool just tried to run me off the track, but I bluffed him out and he's back there flipped on his back. Well, I sweat blood and close my eyes and wait, wondering who's gonna hit me in the middle of the figure eight. I'd get off of this merry-go-round, but there's just one stall. The only exit I see is right straight over the wall. Round and around on the figure eight. Am I sane, am I sound, it's a matter to debate. Talk about a surefire way to lose some weight. Try going around and around on the figure eight. Fireball, the greatest racing driver of them all. Oh, I watched his rise to fame. In the record books you'll find Fireball's name. When I was just a little boy, about 6 years old, I followed after this man wherever he would go. On the weekends he'd take me to the garage. It wasn't very far, and I'd watch for hours at a time him build his first race car. Then came that happy day, and the crew rolled her out. They knew this car was special and would long be talked about. As for me, I noticed the colors and the shining white and blue, and on the sides of both the doors, that famous 22. Now through the next few years or so, experience he gained. He won his share of races and acquired his nickname. Fireball, they called him. People knew him near and far. Racetracks all over the world had heard about that car. Fireball, Fireball, the greatest racing driver of them all. Oh, I watched his rise to fame. In the record books you'll find Fireball's name. Then come a telegram one day, and a smile come across his face. He had been invited to the Big 500 race. The problem was to qualify, and that he had done with ease. He won the pole position, and should win the race with ease. As the race got started, Fireball, he pushed it down to the floor. They headed for the first turn, I guess 30 cars or more. As they thinned out on the backstretch, Fireball set a blistering pace. He broke the track record on the first 20 laps of the race. Then something dreadful happened. A driver broke under the strain, and Fireball swirled and hit the wall, and his car burst into flames. Well, I've practiced hard now for the last few years, and the 500 I just won. And I won it for a real brave man, that racing son of a gun. Fireball, Fireball, the greatest racing driver of them all. Oh, I watched his rise to fame. In the record books you'll find Fireball's name. You cats, and you'll hear about a race I had in the stratosphere. Old Joe had a real slick jet, and I flew a souped-up X-15. Now, don't tune me out, I know what you're thinking. I ain't gonna bug you with no Hot Rod Lincoln. No, that was a long, long time ago, by my granddad back in 1960. But now it's 1997, and we raced our jets next door to heaven. So if you're ready, I'll start at the top, 'cause once I get going, I don't want to stop. They fastened our jets underneath the wing of one of them big B-70 things, lifted us up to 80,000 feet where the atmosphere and the stratosphere meet. Then they cut us loose and we zoom away out. Broke the sound barrier, there's no doubt. Gave her the gun, heard the motors purr, and I revved her up to 4,000 per. Off to my left, old Joe was a whizzin'. He is doing okay in that rocket a hissin'. 2:15 when we left Nevada, now passing below Denver, Colorado. I noticed I was falling a little behind, so I thought I'd make this old turtle unwind. This little baby is sweeter than sweet at 144,000 feet. Now this X-15 is a going thing. Got two little stubs, they call it a wing. Won't help much if your motor stalls. Hey, looky below, Niagara Falls. I kept going up on a 2-degree course. Old Joe kept coming, he ain't riding no horse. And I noticed my instruments making a commotion about the time we reached the Atlantic Ocean. Now, along about here, supposed to turn them around and gather more speed and angle them down. And then something happened, I heard a loud pop, looked out in time to see both motors stop. Now, this little bit, it wasn't in the script. When them jets went out, man, I nearly flipped. Because when this flame thing starts to fall, it floats like a 2-ton cannonball. But wait just a minute, something wrong here. This thing ain't falling, going higher in the air. Getting faster and faster the higher we go. How we gonna get down? Man, I don't know. Well, we circled the Earth in 3 hours flat. Yeah, I'm in orbit, no doubt about that. Here I sit, just circling in space. What's that? Don't ask me. I don't know who won the race. Just last week, took the Sunset Freeway in my Hot Rod Jeep. Stopped in Bel Air and picked up Annie. Said UCLA's got a Hootlebeatnannie, banjos, Latin Scruggs, Johnny Cash. While the Beatnannie show was in full swing, I stepped backstage, say hi to the gang. Annie skipped out with some young beach boys, so I hopped in my Jeep and we made some noise doing 90. Right through Santa Monica, heading for the surfing grounds. Well, I pulled up by the sand dune caves. There was my Annie out riding the waves. 3 or 4 guys giving her the big eye, and all I can do is sit here and cry, lonesome. Annie's out there, getting her bikini all wet. Pulled in a station, a guy I knew well had some big balloon tires he wanted to sell. If I use these things, you think she'll float? He says, if they don't, I'll buy you both. Put them on. Keep the change. I'm a heavy tipper. Sunset Beach, headed out to sea. This baby's a peach, and the boys about to flip their lid. Didn't think she'd blow, but it sure did. Smooth sailing, surfing hot rod, waves a little bit bumpy. Well, the doggone sea was sure getting rough. My stomach told me I'd had about enough. Spun my wheels, standing still, and a great big wave took me up the hill. Flip-flops, flop lips, dang water's salty. Woke up in the hospital getting wrung out, full of seawater as a mile-long trout. Annie and the boys dropped by every day, said they spotted my Jeep in Catalina Bay upside down. Wheels still spinning, y'all can have it. Gonna stay on dry land, surfing Hootlebeatnannies. Dewberrry was a brave engineer. He told his fireman, don't you never fear. All I want is some water and coal. Put your head out the window, watch the drivers roll. Watch the drivers roll. Watch the drivers roll. Put your head out the window, watch the drivers roll. Now Ben Dewberry said before he died, 2 more roads that he wanted to ride. The fireman asked him what could they be. He said the old Northeastern and the A&P. He said the A&P. He said the A&P. Said the old Northeastern and the A&P. On the fatal morning it began to rain. Around the curve come a passenger train. Ben Dewberry was the engineer, had the throttle wide open and without any fear. He didn't have no fear. He didn't have no fear. Had her running wide open and without any fear. Well, he looked at his watch, shook his head. We may make Atlanta, but we'll all be dead. The train went flying by the couple and switch. Without any warning, she took the ditch. Well, she took the ditch. I said she took the ditch. Without any warning, she took the ditch. Now the big locomotive leaped from the rail. Ben never lived to tell the dying tale. His life was ended and his work was done when Ben Dewberry made his final run. He made his final run. He made his final run. When Ben Dewberry made his final run. And the Model A went down in history books to stay. They raced from Canada to Mexico, passing Cadillacs to and fro. I want you to listen to this tale. After my pop had gone my bail, took my hot rod Lincoln out on a run, getting my kicks and having some fun. 'Twas late in the evening, the moon was pale. I was putting miles between me and the jail. A gal on a cycle was cruising along. I was minding my business and singing a song. When I saw a sidecar on that Harley and the gal was stacked like a sack of barley. I don't know what that gal was thinking, but she's poking fun at my hot rod Lincoln. Well, I'm telling you, it didn't sit good, 'cause I'm proud of the motor under the hood. Put my foot down on the gas and I honked my horn and started to pass. But when I did, she pulled away and really took off, wanting to play. I wasn't for racing, the motor was tight, just got the rods back in last night. Out on the stretch, she cranked it wide open. The rods in the Lincoln kept me eloping. I was trailing behind to keep her in sight. I didn't have nothing to do that night. car with no sign of pride. I heard her scream like a tailless kite. She went over the hill, the bike started shaking, hitting on 90, really breathtaking. Took a curve on the side, a bad mistake. The sidecar cycle went out in the lake. Slammed on the binder, went into a spin. The steering wheel hit me under the chin. I looked for the cycle, the sidecar afloat without any sail, resembled a boat. I looked for the gal, saw nothing but bubbles. When I pulled her out, I had nothing but troubles. Had hold of her hair, she really was sore. She struggled and gurgled for a minute or more. She finally quit moaning when she got her breath. She said, "You dang fool, you scared me to death." She cussed me and bit me and wished she was dead. She said, "I believe you got rocks in the head." I like the gal from the way she looks. She's the kind you read about in a book. Got her and the cycle back on land, started stalking and making a plan. The cycle was wet and wouldn't start, and the love bug biting away at my heart. Now we're planning our honeymoon, 'cause we're gonna get married the 1st of June. Twixt me and the Lincoln, she's not fickle, but she quit riding that sidecar sickle. The Camptown ladies sing this song, doo-da, doo-da. Camptown drag strip 5 miles long, oh, doo-da day. Come down here with my hat caved in, doo-da, doo-da. Come back home with a pocket full of tin, oh, doo-da day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. Bet my money on a bobtail nag, somebody on the bay. Now a long-tail filly and a big black horse, doo-da, doo-da, fly the track and they both cut across, oh, doo-da day. Blind horse stuck in a big mud hole, doo-da, doo-da, can't touch bottom with a 10-foot pole, oh, doo-da day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. Bet my money on a bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay. Well, a muley cow come on the track, doo-da, doo-da. The bobtail flung her over his back, oh, doo-da day. They fly along like a souped-up car, doo-da, doo-da. Running a race with a shooting star, oh, doo-da day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. Bet my money on a bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay. He's just an old hard ankle down in Carolina. He can push up forward with any man alive. That's Junior, Junior Johnson. Lordy have mercy how that boy can drive. You can see him on the track over there at Charlotte, making about 150 or more. That's Junior, Junior Johnson. Instead of blood in his veins, there's oil. That's Junior Johnson, that roughneck, tough neck. Look at him run, barreling by, a red-eye son of a gun. Well, they tell a story about an old bad devil come down to Charlotte to look Junior up. But Junior, Junior Johnson beat him driving backwards in an old Ford truck. Well, the devil was a-leading for about 4 laps, but then old Junior, he poured on the coal. That's Junior, Junior Johnson, with the devil up in his manifold. That's Junior Johnson, that roughneck, tough-neck, look at him run, barreling by, red-eyed son of a gun. So, my boys, you better take fair warning. If you want to run on the Charlotte track, there's Junior Johnson. Junior might sneeze and run right up your back. That's Junior Johnson, that roughneck, tough-neck, look at him run, barreling by,